The episode begins when we see some people preparing a dead person for burial, and there is one of them who asks a lot about the deceased as if he does not know him, especially asking about the child he adopted. The people around him begin to wonder at his behavior and ask him about his connection to the deceased. He says that he used to work with him, but after the questions pour in on him, we learn that this person is an intruder and has no connection to the deceased. This angers the attendees and they start running after him to catch him, but he succeeds in escaping. The episode opens with a bleak and desolate landscape, a vast landfill filled with endless heaps of garbage, rotting food, and discarded objects. We meet our protagonists, Ios and Ipa, a struggling couple who live in a shack made of scavenged materials. Ios and Ipa are desperate. Their financial situation is dire, and they owe money to loan sharks who are growing increasingly impatient. Worse, the couple is grieving the recent loss of their young son, Rian, whose death still haunts them. Ipa, in particular, is deeply affected, often staring at the only surviving picture of their child with vacant, sorrowful eyes. Ios, on the other hand, is more practical, focused on finding any possible way to escape their poverty. One day, they hear a strange rumor from other scavengers: a mysterious orphan named Siafen is up for adoption. According to local superstition, Siafen possesses supernatural abilities. Adoptive parents who take him in will receive great wealth within 6 days, but on the 7th day, they will die. At first, Ios dismisses the idea as nonsense, but the rumor spreads like wildfire, with some claiming to have seen real proof of the boy's powers. While they were talking, the owner of the house they were living in knocked on their door. They pretended that they were not there so that he would not hear them. He became very angry after more than a month without paying their rent. Things got difficult after the tenant almost destroyed the door and attacked them. Out of sheer desperation, Ios and Ipa decide to visit the orphanage, which is hidden away in a deteriorating building near the outskirts of the city. The place is eerily quiet, and the few children they see appear lifeless and empty-eyed, as if traumatized. The head of the orphanage, a stern, emotionless woman, greets them and leads them to a small, dimly lit room where Siafen is waiting. The boy is thin, pale, and silent, with an unsettling gaze. He doesn't speak much, only nodding when spoken to. The warden gives Ios and Ipa strict instructions. If you wish to receive the blessings, you must love him unconditionally. These words linger ominously, but Ios barely pays attention. He only cares about whether or not the rumors of wealth are true. Ipa, on the other hand, feels uneasy. Something about Siafen's presence unsettles her, but at the same time, she feels a strange pull towards him, perhaps due to her grief over losing Rian. Despite their hesitation, they sign the adoption papers and take Siafen home. On their first night, Siafen remains eerily silent. He barely eats, barely speaks, and instead stares out the window, watching the landfill as if he is expecting something. Ipa tries to comfort him, offering him food, but he refuses. Ios, annoyed, mutters that the boy better be worth the trouble. While they were talking and the tension started to go away, they discovered money under the pillow, which made them convinced of the rumors. At first, Ios believes it was misplaced money, but the sheer amount is staggering, far more than they could have ever saved. He becomes excited, believing that the rumors must be true. Ipa remains skeptical but says nothing. On the morning of the second day, the child woke up to a picture in his hand, which belonged to her old child, to tell him the truth about their loss of their young son. Only seconds passed before Ios returned with toys to give to the child, hoping that he would like them and take a lot of money from them. After some time, Ipa was working in a garbage dump when the child moved away and was almost hit by the garbage trucks, which made Ipa very afraid for him, and the memories of her son's death returned to her, which was in this way, she returned with him and gave him a lot of food and attention. Here, Ios felt her concern and guessed that this boy is said to be a devil. He told her to try not to have any feelings for this child so that this would not come back to her as a curse or harm, but she did not pay attention to him after she felt that he was looking at the child with greed and that to him he was just a demon who fulfilled his wishes. Not much time passed until they heard a sound in the ceiling, so they went towards the sound and discovered that it was a piece of gold. They felt overwhelming joy. The next day, he went to sell this gold in the market and succeeded after some difficulties. But on his way back, he met the owner of the house, which forced him to pay him a lot of that money. Not much time passed, and in the middle of the night he heard a sound to find more money, which made him go the next day to the expensive restaurant that the child had pointed out on his first day. He started ordering all the delicious food but forgot that the child had a severe allergy to peanuts, which was contained in one of the foods, which led to severe health complications that forced them to go quickly to save him in the hospital. which led to all the money running out again, and here the lack of money continued for a longer period, which made Ios go crazy and made him more violent with the child. But she saved the child from him, and that night the terror appeared in his eyes from the child, which made him sleep with a knife to protect him. The next day, while the child was playing, the house fell on him a mountain of garbage which he did not know. Ipa ran to save him and Ios ran after her. As the couple's tension reaches its peak, a landslide of garbage suddenly buries their shack. The screen goes black. When Ios and Ipa regain consciousness, they find themselves in a luxurious mansion, dressed in elegant clothing. Their shack is gone, replaced by a dreamlike version of their home, filled with everything they ever wanted. However, the joy is short-lived. Ios grows convinced that this is a trap, that they are in some kind of illusion orchestrated by Siphon. His paranoia becomes dangerous, and he secretly plots to kill the boy before the 7th day arrives. On the 7th day, Ios's madness takes over. He grabs a knife and attempts to kill Siphon while he sleeps. However, Ipa, now deeply attached to the boy, jumps in to protect him. In the struggle, she accidentally stabs Ios. As he bleeds out, he realizes, too late, that his greed has destroyed him. Ipa, overwhelmed with guilt and grief, turns the knife on herself, leaving Siphon alone once again. As the episode ends, Siphon kneels beside Ipa's lifeless body. His eyes glow faintly, and the screen fades to black, leaving us uncertain about whether he has the power to bring her back.